Could you get off my table? Get off my table. Camera is full of fur. Anyway, what's up, everybody? This is Tara with Cleopatra Phoenix. I'm Cleopatra Phoenix. And also, we have a special guest star today. Oscar is in the house. We cannot perch. Bruh. Bruh. Okay, so we got technical difficulties. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tarot with Cleopatra Phoenix. I'm Cleopatra Phoenix, and we have a wonderful show for you today because today is the first day of summer. It is the summer solstice. It is Lithas for those who call it that, and it is ushering in the season of Cancer. So, very exciting times. It's the season of Cancer. I have my Cancer unicorn out here from Tokidoki. I just love these little statuettes. But it is the season of Cancer, also heralding summer. And today, the longest day of the year. You can see it's still light outside, and I believe it's going on 8 o'clock at night. So, still light outside. And want to apologize really quickly for the technical difficulties that we had earlier when my cat decided that he was going to jump into the fray and take over the camera. But I think that's good luck. You know, when your cat comes into your readings or climbs all over your altar, I just think it sprinkles mysterious goodness, ethereal glitter, if you will, all over the space. So we got a little bit of those blessings in from him today. I'm going to be snacking on some cakes that I have. So these friends, this is a chocolat blanc et langue du chat, which actually means white chocolate with tongue of the cat. And no, this is not the actual tongue of the cat. This is like a cookie that's prevalent in Europe and Asia, uh, and sort of like a biscuit. But I got these, and these are just so delicious. Plus, I love stuff that comes from other places. So I looked this up. I think it's a company called Shinyu. What is it called? I have the box here. What is it? Oh, Ishia. I'm totally wrong. Ishia since 1976. So delicious little biscuits. And let me tell you, they're delicious. I've already had like seven. So they definitely have passed the taste test. Mm, so good. I'm having them with my hot chocolate. So I got some milk chocolate, some white chocolate. We got some biscuits going. I have a good time. Okay, so today's going to be a little bit of freestyling. You know, it's going to be a little bit of freestyling. I have a few decks up here that we'll pull from. But in honor of the full moon today, I wanted to show you some of the moon cards from the various tarot decks that I have. I always am so fascinated by the different ways that people interpret, um, the symbolism of the cards. And by the way, the moon card is the card of Pisces, but again, because we're honoring that full moon that's happening at 9:28 p.m. Eastern Time, if you're on the East Coast, just so you can be prepared. The full moon is a time of letting go of the things that don't serve you, making room for the things that do. But got that ocean theme. Everybody knows that the moon rules the waters of this planet, the waters of your womb, if you're a woman. And I like to see just the different interpretations. So this card comes from the zodiac tarot. And you see again the reference to Pisces. There's the constellation there. And of course, the fish. This is the brilliant Rider Waite. So this is the deck I think a lot of people are familiar with. It's a radiant version of the classic deck. And in light of Cancer, although this is some sort of crawfish, I think, the moon always makes me feel um, the Cancer energy. And I think it's because, the moon represents mother, represents the matrix, the dream world, intuition. And you see the little yods falling here from the moon. This is the inspiration that you get in the dream world. Just beautiful. Of course, the Thoth deck, the moon. So there's a lot of Egyptian symbolism in this. Um, a lot of esoteric knowledge, but you see you have your yods here coming from the ocean of intuition. Ah, I'm excited for this full moon. Now this card, this is not necessary. This isn't a tarot deck. This is a magical botanical oracle deck featuring a lot of different plants and their meanings. And I picked this one to show you today because obviously the moon is being represented. The moon is being represented here. What the hell? Hold on. All right, so I apologize for that. I had some notifications come up on my screen, and I thought they were part of the recording. So I was just like, bruh, I need a production assistant. But anyway, this is cannabis sativa, which, if you know, right, about the effects of cannabis. When you want to zone out, meditate, get into that deep ocean of the subconscious. So, cannabis sativa is the perfect card to represent the moon today. And we're going to get more into this deck in later videos. I keep saying that I want to go through the different decks, but I think it's important just to show people what these decks look like. I mean, if you own them, this way you can decide if you want to buy it. So one day I'm going to go through all my decks. This one is from the Light Seers Tarot, and another one of my favorites because, again, you just see how people treat the different symbolism. So here's those two pillars, but represented by the wolves who normally are right there. This is just great with the moon full blast in the middle. So excited for the full moon today. And lastly, we have from the Pastoral Tarot. This is another one of my favorite images, just depicting a beautiful nature scene at night. And it's almost like it gives the impression that when no people are about, this is what's going on, in the dreamscape, in the forests, just the animals, the purity of the elements, the purity of non human life, and the moon, and just the effect that it has on all of us. And lastly, just to get into our crystals here, rainbow moonstone, which I have a piece of here. And of course, I showed this in a previous video because it happened to be a new moon. But now we're dealing with the full moon. But this rainbow moonstone, and I'll tell you, I was excited to get this piece of moonstone, and I didn't realize that there were different kinds. I'm trying to edify myself about crystals as well. Rainbow moonstone gets you in touch with it represents light, gets you in touch with your higher guidance, your spirit, the crown chakra. And this inner structure of moonstone, if you'll notice, it bends the light, creating a deep shimmering undulating effect. So again, we're getting taken back to the symbolism of the ocean, of the subconscious, of the material structure of the world, and the matter that shapes us and shapes our dreams and shapes, the things that we think about and the things that we manifest into this life. So I just wanted to show those. And also, I think I showed you, again, my little tokidoki. So we're also ushering in the season of Cancer. So shout out to all the Cancers out there. Your time is now. Frolicking in the sun, doing things that involve family, getting close to home, dealing with issues of mother, you know. So, yeah, although the moon card is the card of Pisces, I still feel like it carries a lot of that Cancer energy. And for those who don't know, the card of the tarot deck that represents Cancer is the Chariot. And you see a lot of moon symbolism in that card as well. So that card is more about, you know, where are you directing your willpower? Are you driving it toward that which will serve you? Are you in control, or is your subconscious in control? You know, and again, that moon influence will determine exactly how uh, much, you know, control you have over, you know, your impulses, uh, your emotional state, your mental state, your spiritual state. All about willpower. It's about drive, yes, but being able to control all those different urges and make sure that you stay on course as far as your goals and your dreams and the direction that you want to go in. Because it's very easy for those wild horses to get out of control. Everybody talks about wild horses, you know. You've got to be able to rein it in. You know, you hear those terms, reining it in. Um, Sowing your wild oats, or being in control of your deepest impulses. And that's where the chariot is really representing, um, you know, which direction you're going to go in. Okay. In addition to me having my hot chocolate, I also occasionally enjoy a nice cup of fresh boy tears. So cute. All right, so let's get into it on this June 21st of 2024, this summer solstice, and see what the cards have for us. So, just a disclaimer, this is a general reading. It's not directed toward any particular zodiac sign today, although we are honoring Cancer just with the whole energy and spirit of today's reading. But as you know, if it resonates with you, it resonates with you. I think that everybody is always exactly where they're supposed to be at any given point in time. That's just the way it is. I mean, you wouldn't be there if you weren't. And so there's lessons to be learned in that moment. And we are going to see what those lessons are. Another thing that I want to say before we get started with the reading proper is that if you enjoy these discussions that we have, these sessions that we have, if you're feeling the energy, please consider supporting the channel and buying me a cup of coffee. The link is in the bio for the channel, where you can go to do that if you're so inclined to donate. Everything is much appreciated. Also, subscribe, like if you feel inclined. Trying to grow this channel here. Have a really good time doing this. You know, these readings, these discussions with you feed my soul. So, you know, when I've had enough of the day job or just mundane life in general, the whole muggle thing, you know, I like to come here because the thing about tarot is that it contains so much symbolism that has been um, curated over so many centuries. It's taken on a life of its own. You know, there are a lot of people who are historians. They like to delve into the origins of it. You know, I'm not necessarily an expert on that, but I do think that pictures, symbolism, you know, it's a part of the human experience. These are the words, so to speak, the stories that communicate to us wordlessly, right? Despite language, despite culture, you know, there's certain things that are universal. You know, you see somebody smiling, you know, that's happiness. Doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter where you come from. You see somebody crying, you can identify with, oh, there must be some emotional pain there. Whatever word that you use in whatever language to convey that. So pictures, they say, are worth 1,000 words, and I think, you know, the tarot is probably worth 1,000 um, psychotherapy sessions. Not to say that it replaces that, but just to say that you could do a lot of deep diving into what makes you you and who you are um, by consulting these cards. It's not just for divination purposes, but also diving deep into the psyche and your own personal experience and seeing what messages and symbols resonate with you as we read them. Okay, so did some shuffling. What do we got here? Whoa. Okay. So now fours always represent stability, and you know the four of discs, pentacles, coins, as they're referred to, depending upon what tarot deck you're dealing with. This is the Morgan Greer deck, by the way. One of my favorites. I think their imagery is so rich and full of character. But I see a brick wall here, and I see this sort of. I mean, you already have what you have. Why do you have to carry it around with you everywhere? So this always seems to me to be the card that it doesn't just symbolize greed or, you know, holding on for dear life, but it's sort of like this need to walk around with and show. It's like those people who have a lot of designer clothes from different brands and they will wear them all at once so that you can see everything that they have. This is the energy that this card is giving. So either you or somebody around you is really focused on outward appearances and making sure that everybody knows that, hey, I've got all this stuff, or I'm wealthy. Um, I'm wearing everything, at once to impress people. Somebody is really trying to impress people. Somebody feels insecure, and so they carry everything that they feel is of value either on their person or, on their sleeve. You got to be careful with that too, because while yes, maybe these are the strappings of, wealth or position, and power, and yeah, they will have a certain effect on people, but we always want to stay focused on what is the internal wealth that we have inside. What do we bring to the table that isn't material? Definitely you want to shore up your castle. You want to make sure that your fortifications are in place, and you put a lot of your resources behind that to keep you safe. That foundation is important. Structure is definitely important. But we just want to make sure that we don't put so much emphasis on that we lose sight of the things that are of our value that aren't tangible. You know, the Queen of Cups reiterates this message. Queens tend to sit in the power of the suit that they represent, right? So they're the essence, so to speak. So the Queen of Cups, this is a person who um, values themselves. This is a person who has the emotional security to put themselves first when necessary, but not to do it in such a way where it's so ostentatious that it really screams, and it screams insecurity. Two different positions of strength, two different positions of wealth. You see that ocean behind her. It's the mother, right? The ocean is the mother. It's where life springs from. And you could also look at the word life as experience, right? As wisdom, as all of the knowledge that one could have, or all of the knowledge that exists at least on this material plane. I think water really represents that. And so it's a different kind of power. It's knowing self-worth without having to display it. So if somebody is walking around, you know, puffing their chest out and showing everybody, look what I have. Look, I've got all the latest fashions, or I'm driving, the best car, or even I don't spend a dime. I put everything in the bank because I'm saving up my energy and my resources for that rainy day. But, that rainy day may never come. And I always caution people, like, not that I'm a financial advisor or anything like that, but money needs to be put to use. Money needs to circulate in order to be useful. And while you don't want to spend unwisely, there is something to be said about investing in oneself, having the fortitude to put resources into oneself. Because if you listen, if you put your resources into yourself, you get that back tenfold, right? It's like the people who maybe they go to school to learn a new skill, or they're constantly reading in order to gain knowledge, or maybe they're studying to gain understanding of themselves, to know themselves. You are actually the resource. This can get taken away from you at any time. Anybody, no matter how tight you hold on to the material things, those can always be taken away. Why? Because they're not the real wealth. They represent um, the tangible stuff that we create and that we put a lot of our attention on. But when we don't put enough attention on what's happening inside, what's happening spiritually, you find that no amount of this can satisfy. No amount of this can give you the security that you've been craving. It's not wise to put all of your trust and hope and faith, right, in something that can come and go in an instant. But the spiritual, right, that's eternal. That's what's eternal. Because if you're spiritually fortified, you can always get more money. You can always create more opportunities for yourself. So let's keep that in mind. See, this is that situation that happens whether or not you have this. And don't get me wrong, it's always good to be prepared. It's always good to be prepared, and it's good to be frugal, and it's good to be wise about how you allocate and spend your resources. But this day comes for all of us at some point in our lives. You know what I mean? At some point in our lives, we are dealing with the worst of the worst. You know, it's funny. Diddy was on the internet talking about he hit rock bottom. Um, to me, I always feel like somebody's rock bottom when they are focused, as somebody like he was. Like, let's not even get into the domestic violence and all that stuff. But I would just say, just the way uh, he had a tendency to treat people in general. To me, it spoke to incredible, deep and incredible insecurity. Anybody that could be that selfish and cruel to people, they're already at rock bottom. But if you're not, somebody like Diddy, I would say, and you find yourself in a place like this, you know, it can be hard to be this person. But if you've been working on this, you'll realize that this just means, it's always darkest before the dawn. I mean, you can't get any worse than the Ten of Swords, right? Like, shit is jacked up, period. Like, the shit has hit the fan, you know, maybe somebody stabbed you in the back, which would be an obvious interpretation. Maybe you had high hopes about a situation or a relationship, a job. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe, you know, the worst that you could have conceived of has come to pass. But here we are, we're in the middle of, a reading, and it can't get any worse. So obviously, it can only get better. You know what I'm saying? It can only get better. So, what are we looking at in terms of next steps? This just goes to prove. Yeah, you had all of this wealth, you had everything. Maybe you didn't pay attention to making sure that that foundation within was being worked on. Maybe you didn't have, you know, you didn't have that sense of self, that belief in self that would have maybe prevented this situation, right? Or just gave you a little bit of grace so that when it happened, you wouldn't feel like, oh my God, that's it, everything's over. We're dead in the water. There's nothing else that we can do. We're done for, which is never the case. There's always an opportunity for you to bounce back. And you see this here, this idea of giving up because things are the worst. Well, that is self-deception. That's futile. That is some what I call fuckery. Because, fear is the stealer of inspiration. It's a thief in the night that comes and takes away your sense of security, that comes in and takes away, somebody, maybe somebody is making you feel like you have to do all of this and, perform for people and show people what's going on. Because the worst thing that could happen, right, is that these people take back their good opinion of you. But if you've got that good opinion of yourself, you don't have to worry about whatever this person's doing. I mean, people will come in all the time if they see somebody that has a high opinion of themselves, that believes in themselves. It can make people uncomfortable. It can make people uncomfortable. It can also make people want to take what you have. So again, when you're walking around, you're showing off that you have all this, or you're posing like you have all this. People see that. People see that, and they want to come for what you have. They want to come for what you have, you know? And they'll come often. As you see these swords here, look, whoever this is probably one of the people that contributed to this. But if you weren't so busy trying to impress them, you know what I mean? If you were focusing on making sure that self-esteem was the wealth that you were building, a person like this can come in and take that. Because a thief can't take what you have inherently and intrinsically within yourself. It doesn't work that way. No matter what they do, no matter how low you are. You know what I mean? If you've got that belief in self, if you've been working on your spiritual wealth, that's not something that somebody can come and sneak off with, no matter how hard they might try. You know, we all have within us. It's a God given right, a creator given right, whatever you want to call it. We all start out with a clean slate, and we all have the power of creativity within ourselves. You'll see a lot of everybody has a desire to be something, to make something, to create something. That's not something that a person can be in control of. That's not something that a person can be in control of. That's not something that has anything to do with wealth. It has everything to do with willpower, everything to do with faith in the self. So look at this picture that we're creating here. Look at this picture that we're creating here together as we pull these cards, right? A lot of different energies are coming out here. What ultimately are they saying to us? A lot of times we are worried about things and we're not realizing that because we're staying in that mindset, that we're actually the ones putting ourselves in bondage. We're actually the ones who are creating a situation that we think we have no escape from because we're not opening our eyes to see the truth of the matter. You know, this is a great opportunity, I will say. Yeah, it's a prison of one's own making, right? It's a situation where you feel trapped, yes, but also, have you ever experienced feeling trapped or feeling like, yo, I've hit rock bottom, there's nothing I can do? And I really got to stop saying rock bottom because it's like every time I say it, I see that guy's face, and that I guess it was supposed to be his sincere, I hit rock bottom. I mean, yo, like honestly, like real people don't even talk like that. You'll find somebody say I hit rock bottom like if they're doing an interview, right? Or they got like a 30-second sign by, or they're reading, you know, or they're reading a pamphlet, or they're reading somebody's self-help book. I mean, that's when you'll hear people say stuff like that. Also, I find that a lot of narcissists and sociopaths talk like that, like they talk in platitudes. Real people don't say I hit rock bottom. I mean, that's something that you say when you're on the news. You know what I mean? Or like when you're in a courtroom, and usually like a lawyer has told you that's like something you need to say. But, you know, this would be the equivalent of that. I mean, look at this. The swords are in the back. You're laying there. It's dark. Ain't nobody coming. You know what I mean? Nobody's coming. And forget about whether it's reversed or it's upright. Look, the energy of the card is the energy of the card. If you're having a good day and all the cards are upright, that's great. That doesn't mean reverse cards aren't coming. So I've decided, at this point, that I'm not going to really bother with whether they're upside down or not because the story gets told either way. But you see these swords here, right? I mean, he would really need somebody to come in and pull these out if he was going to have any hope of getting past stuff. But at the same time, this person can't see that there's an opening right in front. There's an opening right in front. You know, I'm feeling similar energy from these cards. I mean, you see the red, you know, the tower behind. This idea that you're trapped, but you're not. It's open right here. You could just walk out. The legs aren't bound. The hands are bound because the eyes are bound. You can't see that the legs aren't bound. At the very least, you could stumble on out of here and be like, yo, somebody untie my hands or take this blindfold off. Why would somebody why would somebody else tie up only your hands and your arms and blindfold you and then leave the door open? You're standing there. It's like get moving. You know what I mean? So I think this is either the next step from rock bottom, right? Or, you're deluding yourself. You're not willing to look within for the strength to get your situation together. You know, King of Swords is going to tell. There's a lot of swords happening with this reading today. So, by the way, that's telling me that a lot of the times when we are find ourselves in a sticky situation, we're really dealing with a thought process that may be self-defeating. You know, but the King of Swords is there to tell you the truth, to give you the hard truth, um, to let you know with no bones about it that you need to stop messing around and get your stuff together. You know, you're gonna have to be focused. You're gonna have to be honest with yourself. You know, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to get out of a situation where you're feeling like, oh, there's nothing I can do. Oh, the my wealth got taken away. They took my stuff from me, and now there's nothing for it. Now everything's over. Well, you're still walking around, you're still breathing, you can still walk. All hope is not gone. All hope is not gone. The door is open. Leave the land of regret. It's funny. I was thinking about the Five of Cups the other day, and I was thinking about how it is the symbolic equivalent of this phrase, crying over spilt milk. There's that tower in the background again, looming. It's like the longer you put off climbing that mountain and getting to the top and getting back to where you belong, the longer you're going to be trapped. I think everybody says regret is, it's like fear. It's the mind killer, right? It takes away the possibilities. If you're afraid, if you're too busy clinging to things that you think are of value that really aren't, things that are outside of yourself, um, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of regrets. But at the same time, it's like that's a part of being human. I don't know anybody that doesn't have regrets. They might say it, right, because it sounds good in a self-help kind of way. I don't live my life having regrets. Well, I don't know. There might be a little bit of narcissism there in that comment, or, because to be human is to have regrets. We don't always hit the mark. We don't always get it right. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that, hey, oh, this didn't happen the way I wanted. But again, the issue is not having the feeling. The issue is staying in that feeling. Staying in that feeling. Um, Progress doesn't happen that way. Okay, so somebody stole your stuff, you know? Somebody cheated on you, somebody lied to you. Everybody gets lied to. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. But, that's how you live and learn. That's how you live and learn. Everybody's been betrayed. Everybody's had to deal with betrayal at some point. It's not the end of the world. There's two cups still here that aren't spilled. Gratefulness, which I try to practice every day, gratefulness is very important. Being honest about your assessment about where you are. It's so easy for people to gripe sometimes, you know. Oh, look, it's so bad, and look what happened, and then they did this to me, and then you know what I'm saying. They left me for dead, you know. I had a similar situation. I was, you know, not doing so great. I was reaching out to people for help, and I was like, yeah, you know, these people are going to help me. Some people didn't help me, you know. I was mad about it for a minute. I was bitter about it for a minute. Then I had to realize, but you still have two cups sitting here. You might be down, but you're not out. It's always darkest before the dawn. This is also the last card in the suit before you get to the people cards. So this is the end of the story, but it's not, or maybe it's the end of the chapter, but it's not the end of the entire book. So, you know, quit whining, you know, and pull yourself together. Why? Because when we don't focus on the truth, this sword is upright. This sword says, all right, shit is jacked up. So now it's time for me to take care of business. I'm going to put on my King of Swords energy and I'm going to get back out there and get it done. I got an Ace of Rods just like everybody else does. Everything is not terrible. You know, you have to have the fortitude to look at things for what they are. Because if you don't do that, you know, you're going to stay trapped in that world of delusion. So be that king. Be that king. Look at all these swords. Feel like, and I shuffled these cards pretty good. You know, the Gnostics say that all is mind. All is mind. And swords represent, you know, the mental plane. They represent ideas. You know, ideas are what shaped your world. What kinds of ideas are you walking around with? Are you walking around in your own power? Do you have healthy respect for yourself and for the truth? Or do you let, you know, do you let the thieves of hope, thieves of ungratefulness come in? The deceit, the self deceit that the more I have, the better I am. You know, are these things ruling you? Fear to move forward, letting a dark time overshadow all of your possibilities. I mean, you know, you everybody knows, even as they're doing that, even as they're worrying about things, everybody knows that that's not healthy, that that's the opposite of what you should be doing. And I think it's quite difficult for us, you know, as humans, because we, I think some of us, right, like especially if you grew up with a lot of lack, you might feel like I can't be too happy because something bad is going to happen. You know, but that's the wheel of life. Everything moves. Things aren't static. You feel what I'm saying? Like things are not going to stay one way forever, whichever way it is, whether things are good or bad. We exist on a continuum. It's like a wave that happens, you know? And see, look, what's at the end of the, what's another 10, okay? So you could decide which one is ultimately going to be the end of your story. Happiness or ruin. Neither of these things is static. Neither of these things is permanent. And getting back to the fact that we are coming into the strawberry moon, which, by the way, historically, I don't know if folks know this, but the indigenous people would harvest strawberries during this particular full moon. It's called a strawberry moon because that is the time when the strawberry crops would ripen and they could be harvested. So I expect to see a lot of strawberries in the supermarket in the coming weeks, in the next month or so, because I noticed I haven't seen any. And I am not, I'm not the resident botanist anywhere. My agricultural skills are not up to par. I can tell you that. Like, I don't, I'm growing some house plants right now, and I have some scallions that I have in some water in a glass that I'm trying to grow, and I'm just so fascinated by that. Just how you put a little bit of water in something and you let it sit, and it's like life activation spell initiated, engaged, and it's like you don't even have to do anything. So people say to me, "Oh, you guys believe in that there's some benevolent being." I mean, maybe the word being might be a little bit confusing because like nobody knows what it is, but we know it when we see it. And for things to just grow out of nothing, that's crazy. Like, I really want to understand what that program is. I want to understand what that energy is. But the full moon, getting back to the moon, the full moon is a time where you let go of things that don't serve you, as I said in the beginning. So maybe it's time to let go of these self defeating ideas. You know what I mean? Maybe it's time to let go of this idea that an unhappy ending is permanent, or that a happy ending is permanent. Nothing's permanent. So therefore, all possibilities exist. The full moon, there's that moon there. The idea of impregnation, whether physically or with ideas. Now look at how everything is shaping up over here. This is a completely different story that gets told. You were down, and then you were up. The waves of life, the ebb and flow of life. Again with the ocean thing. You know what I mean? The ebb and flow of life. The quiet solitude of possibilities incubating in the womb of life. Under the water where you can't see, teeming with life. The moon shining down on us, human and animal alike. We feel the pull. We feel the pull of the Empress. We feel the pull of creativity. You know, we feel it. And those of us who are virtuous enough, and by virtuous, I don't mean in terms of faithfulness or fidelity in a relationship or being, religiously moral. I mean, those of us that have the virtue to trust. Where's my Ace of Rods? To trust in the life spark that we all have. And there's that three, which represents harmony. To harmonize the conscious and the subconscious. To ultimately give birth to, you know, ourselves, or the highest ideal of ourselves. This man is contemplating the mountain. That same mountain, this mountain on which this barren castle is, right? Where's that other mountain? You know what I mean? These mountains these towers and mountains that we sometimes are not ready to climb. But the virtue card says, in order for you to do that, you got to step out of your comfort zone. There's that Ace of Wands or Rods. Everybody has that. So you take your two wands in your hand and you venture out. Venture out of the comfort zone. You know, venture out of that prison of your own making. These cards seem very similar. It's almost as if he's enclosed, but he's making the decision to step out. And that is a virtuous decision. because harmonizing, like I said, the fear with the possibility, that's when you get to, give birth to your real self. I always feel like people are, working on reinventing themselves. I know a lot of people who are doing that, and they're at different stages of that in their lives, you know? But we get to the truth of the matter, the essence of it. And I will say, too, where's my king at? Where is my king of swords? These two are coming up together. This is definitely a marriage of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, both aligned in truth and virtue. And I think in those situations, under those circumstances, where's my empress? This is the immaculate conception right here. The subconscious and the conscious together, giving birth to the ideal. Whether you're having a baby or you're writing a novel or you're working on a screenplay or you're building a building, whatever it is that you're working on that you are incubating and trying to bring to life, these two have to be married together. So it could be a literal wedding. Maybe some people are getting married, and it seems to me like if these two are getting married, they're a perfect match for each other, obviously. You know, where you see here these two pillars, the conscious, the subconscious, coming together on the middle path, balanced, equilibrium, right thinking, gives birth to like a Christ consciousness, so to speak. There's the moon, the eagle, which is in the air. You've got your air signs here. So these are telling a lovely story together, you know? And like I said, you marry these two, your subconscious and your conscious mind, harmony again, harmony, harmony. It's no coincidence that three threes are showing up. Three threes. This is the card of the artisan. This is not the card of the artisan. This is the card of the collector. This is the card of the the coveter. This represents creation, creativity, and hard work. I always figured this is the card of the artisan, or maybe someone's a mason, a builder, right? The Empress is building something as well inside. This is the outward expression of that same building energy. This is a beautiful reading that we're having today because we're seeing examples of just what we were talking about. And we're seeing how, with that full moon, the letting go, putting these pentacles down and building real pentacles, the ones that matter, the ones that are internal. You see the outward expression of it, but to me, this symbolizes the movement, moving toward that ideal, marrying that conscious with the subconscious, taking the idea of materialism, but bringing some spirituality into it. That's a work of art. Work of art is what this card symbolizes to me. Work of art. And in a lot of ways, we as humans, we are works of art, right? We're perpetual works of art. Our painting, if we want to use that analogy, is still being painted. Our dance is still being danced. Our song is still being sung. It doesn't end until it ends. So this might be the end of a chapter, but there's always a chapter that comes after. So what is that chapter going to read? What is it going to say about you? What are you going to make? You know what I mean? What is going to issue forth, so to speak, from your loins? And does it combine right thinking, represented by this angel, excuse me, this eagle here, representative of the air signs, representative of the swords? You've got that. You've got also intuition, informing that thought, the heart, love overall, informing that. Look at all this green. It is a wealth. It is a form of wealth. Life. Life is the ultimate wealth. Without it, what do you have? Well, you've got this, but look at all this. Look at all the passion here put into this. But it's almost like that passion is encased by stone, the stone of rigid thinking, enclosed, right, in a short-sighted way of gathering wealth. No risk taking. Money on my mind, money on my mind, money on my mind, money on my mind, right? Yeah, but is that right thinking? There's nothing feminine at all about this card. And we know the four is the card of the emperor, right? Foundations, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, excepting where's the other aspect? Where's the non-material aspect of this endeavor? I feel like that leads here. And I feel like this guy's problem, we can say, okay, so what would be the female? What would be and female meaning feminine, right? Not necessarily pertaining to women, but what would be the female equivalent of this situation? Not utilizing the intuition. Red is the color of passion. So when I see this red bound up, it means it is definitely a cutting off of the self. It is repression. Repression. And you see this white blindfold. White is purity, but it's completely covering the eyes. To me, this is repression. This is obsession. Obsession plus oppression gives you rock bottom, y'all. Rock bottom. And because money's on his mind and she's just completely cut off from her own willpower, they need a completely different way of looking at things. And no, it doesn't mean, okay, you messed up, so you just kind of stay here wallowing in self-pity. Virtue is not just admitting mistakes or admitting wrongdoing. It's getting up, you fell down, You know what I mean? You tried to climb the mountain. Unicorn out. You tried to climb the mountain. You ended up jacked up. Fell on some cliffs or some spikes. You know what I mean? You thought you had it all. But just like, it's like they say when you build something, the thieves come, you know. Every time they, like, even like, let's take cybersecurity, right? Every time they try to build a new firewall or something like that, the bad guys, so to speak, right, come out with something else that can hack that, that can break that. There's nothing that's foolproof. There's nothing that can't be stolen if it is of a material aspect. But one thing that can't be taken from you is your sense of self. And I think that the strongest thing that can protect you from that kind of despair, faith, faith, hard work, lofty ideals. Yeah, it's a material approach to it. You're putting mind, body, and spirit behind it. But this archway suggests ultimately we're trying to find our way back. You see some semblance of the arch here with these two trees, these being the boundaries, and this being the arch. There's an arch that represents the feminine. There's a man working, and he's working with his hands, but always on his mind. The true wealth, the wealth of spirit and love of self. So that's what I got for today. I think that was a beautiful reading. I definitely took some inspiration from it myself, thinking about my own situations. Let's see what the character oracle has to say right quick. I'm fascinated with this deck too. It's an oracle deck. It's not a tarot deck, but I feel it always adds some flavor to whatever it is that um, the theme has been. And I'm thinking overall, the theme of this reading was spiritual wealth, spiritual courage over material security, the courage and virtue to move ahead and to try again, despite being at your lowest point or thinking that you're at your lowest point, and shaking off that despair and getting back up and getting back to the work that we were put here to do, which I believe is to be creative. Guardian of faith, morality, compassion, sacred mission. You seeing that? Where's our guy? Looks like he's working in a church, yeah? There's that arch. There's the arch, signified by the moon card. There's the arch. Now, y'all saw me shuffle the cards. Religion in the sense of dedication. To practice something religiously means to dedicate oneself to it. Forget about the connotations, of like whatever of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, any of that stuff. But religion, meaning to really dedicate yourself to something, to stay with it. Guardians of faith. I didn't plan that. I think the theme today too is faith. I'm seeing that. Clergy. True virtue. Where's our virtue card? True virtue. the courage to move forward, to climb the mountain, to keep the highest ideals top of mind. That's morality, that's virtue. And of course, compassion, not beating yourself up with regret, compassion for the self as well. And these fives represent struggle. It can be difficult to forgive yourself, it can be difficult to find the strength to move forward, to have hope again. Trust me, I know that that's very hard to do when you're feeling at your lowest. And a sacred mission. This card is asking, what is your sacred mission? What ultimately are you here to do? Do you know? It takes courage to ask yourself that question. And it takes courage to ask yourself that question over and over again. Because sometimes we have to start over. We live in a society that says, "Oh, you're supposed to know what's going on. You're venerated when you have you're focused on your path. You always knew what you wanted to be." People who are still trying to figure it out. I'm one of those people. I think sometimes maybe my sacred mission is to wander aimlessly. To wander. Not aimlessly. Aimlessly is the wrong word, but when we think of wandering, we often think that it's aimless because, that's pretty much the definition of wandering. But I think you discover so many things when you're wandering. Composer of harmony, creation, passion, celebration. All right, let's just put these two cards here as we wrap up for the day. And let me just show you how, call it what you want, the universe, the energy, you know. I know there's a lot of terms that people hear and they sound annoying to people who really want to get a handle on what we're doing here. They like to deal with facts. They like to, have a clear idea about what's going on and moving ahead. And they put a lot of faith. They put a lot of faith, right? They put a lot of faith in what they can see and what they can touch and what they can hold and what they can measure and what they can count and what glitters, what is shiny. That makes them feel safe. All this metaphysical talk doesn't make a lot of people feel safe. But I don't think there's any such thing as safety. You know, it was an arduous battle to be born. You know, your sperm beat out a lot of sperms. It could have easily been some other sperm. And yeah, that's what, makes me feel like a lot of things happen for a reason because they also could easily not have happened. This idea of randomness. I think randomness is something that we create. I don't think randomness is something that the universe operates on. In a way, it does, right? We talk about the unknown and uncertainty. Well, we're the ones that are uncertain. You're certain that the sun will rise every morning until it doesn't, but so far, that's been a lot more dependable than the whims of all the other human beings that we share the planet with. So I do believe that this is a message for people, and it was shaping up, not by me. You've got this musician card, but look what it represents. Composer of harmony. The number of harmony is 3. The number of harmony is 3. The number of harmony is 3. Okay? So you got 3 cards with a 3 on it, and that means harmony. Creation. Well, let's just sum that up. And celebration, right? So here's a celebration. Let's see what else we got. Celebration. Passion. Passion might be bound up, but the passion is there. Passion for the truth. That's where all that red is coming in. Passion is maybe being misdirected, being wasted, but there's passion there, right in the center of the heart, in the midst of his work. Passion. Soulful sound. All right. That's a joyous noise unto the Lord, some people would say. And then you've got guardians of faith. Definitely a church right here. Faith in the truth. Trust in the subconscious for our moon. Faith and belief in oneself. The idea that one is enough. Faith in the sacred mission that we are about to embark upon. Morality is here. The Three of Wands is also known as virtue. Compassion. Compassion. In order for anything to live and have life in this world, this is what the moon represents. Compassion to allow things to exist on this material plane to come into existence. So I'm not going to pull too many more cards. I think we'll leave it here. I think these are our themes, right? Wait, where's my card at? Where is that card at? Yo, yo, yo. Okay. Faith, morality, compassion, a sacred mission, creation, passion, celebration, harmony. Soulful sound is definitely, to me, the word of God. The word of God is not verbal. It is all around us. It's the life impulse. It's the impulse to create. It's the impulse to preserve. All of these things represent the word of God, you know, or the creator, or whatever you want to call it. The courage to venture forth, coveting, wanting, desire. That's the soulful sound. All right, well, enjoy your evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. This has been Tara with Cleopatra Phoenix. I'm Cleopatra Phoenix. I really appreciate the time that you spent. This was, like I said, this was soul fulfilling and spirit nurturing for me. I hope that it was for you. Um, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night.